So let's talk a little bit about how the Irish and Scots dressed in the 16th century. To do so, I'm going to use my book Before the Kilt, How the Irish and Scots Dressed in the 16th Century. And the book presents and examines the watercolors, woodcuts, and manuscript illuminations of Lucas de Heer, Albrecht Dürer, the Ashmolean Museum, Raphael, Holinshed, John Derrick, and more. It also presents and examines the reports on Gaelic dress written in the 16th century by Nikolai d'Arfville, John Leslie, Robert Lindsay of Pitscotty, John Major, Jean de Bourget, George Buchanan, Louis O'Clery, and William Camden. We won't do all of that. I'll just show you some of the basics, and we'll skip the section on how the Gael, the Irish Gael and the Scottish Gael, viewed the world, their laws, their customs, polygamy, polyandry. Let's see. Okay, good. There we go. There we go. On your left, you see how civil Irish women dressed. That would be women of the towns, which were largely Norman or Anglo-Norman. Notice the wide sleeves. And then to your right, those are two Irish leachra, I should say, warriors. The one in the foreground, you can see clearly, has a ring-pommeled sword, and he's wearing a lena, which is the long shirt that would typically go down to the ankles, but he's bloused it up over the belt in order to allow him to move quickly, run, and let's see. Notice that he's also wearing a red inner. That's the jacket, an embroidered jacket. Notice the wide sleeves. Both the lena and the jacket have wide sleeves, wide open sleeves, so that he can easily use his sword. So the set of clothing is designed for maneuverability, both while running, attacking, retreating, and also for sword play. We won't look at all the illustrations, but here we have a Scottish an engraving depicting an early Scotsman hunting in the mountains of Scotland from Holinshed's Chronicles of 1577. And oops. See basically the same clothing, a lena, the long shirt, which is bloused over the belt for maneuverability. He's wearing an inner, and again the wide sleeves in this case for easy use of the bow. And that's in Scotland. Now the Gael Ogli in Scotland were the Gael Gael, who are the foreign Gael, are a mix of Norse and Gael. That's their ancestry. On the north side, they had no problem wearing armor. They would wear chainmail down to the calves, down to the ankles, even in some cases. And they were specialists. They were martial artists in the tuaada, which is the long axe, the 6-foot axe, and also the Clive Moor, which in Scottish Gaelic and Ulster Irish is Clive Moor, which eventually gives the word in English claymore. That's the 6-foot sword. And the Gael, the Irish Gael and the Scottish Gael, had a tendency to stay away from armor, not to use armor. But the Gael Gael, the gallows glasses, had that as part of their tradition. And here we see on your left, we see some Gael Gael, some gallows glasses. Notice the 6-foot sword on the shoulder, the chainmail that one is wearing, and also wearing the catoon, which is the long, very thick cotton coat designed to dissipate or disperse the force of a blow, a sword blow, very much the way modern Kevlar does. And let's see. Oh, and on this side you see Irish Gael. You see well, let's see, the two fellows to your right are wood cairn, called an Irish quill carney, wood cairn, specialists in fighting in the deep forest of Ireland. Ireland was a temperate zone rainforest until the 17th century, like the Pacific Northwest. And this individual here is either a Taoiseach, who is the war leader of a small clan, or a Finna, which is an extended family, or he is a Rí, which means king. The Irish Tuatha, the Irish peoples, the Irish clans, as we would call them in English, continued to elect their kings until the end of the 16th century, and some even longer. And the Scottish clans continue to elect their Riha, their kings, right through to the and their Taoiseach, their clan leaders, their war leaders, called in English chiefs or chieftains, continue to elect them until the 1740s, 1745 and 1746 defeat and disaster and imposition of English law. So the Irish continue to elect their leaders until the imposition of English law in 1603 through 1607, and the Scots until the disaster at Culloden and the imposition of English law in 1746. So those are just a few illustrations from the book. It's all corroborated by the written descriptions of the period. The kilt, it's called before the kilt because the kilt doesn't come into use in Scotland until the 1630s. It's really Scottish national dress and not Irish national dress. At the very end of the 19th century, the Irish debated whether or not to bring back the lena, the long linen shirt that we saw in these illustrations. And they thought that they would be ridiculed if they did, so they brought in the Scottish kilt instead. So that's a little synopsis on how the Irish Gael and the Scottish Gael dressed in the 16th century before the kilt. I hope that was helpful, and bye-bye for now.